All right, we're going to try something a little ambitious today. We are going to condense 1,000,000 years of Indian history into just 5 minutes. Yeah, you heard that right. We're going to race from the very first stone tools all the way to magnificent empires, and hopefully uncover the story of one of the world's oldest and most fascinating civilizations.
So where do you even begin with a story this massive? I mean, 1,000,000 years? It's easy to get lost. So we've broken it down into 4 key leaps forward. These huge, pivotal moments that really changed everything that came after.
Okay, let's dive right in. Our first leap is going to cover the longest period of human history by far, a time when our entire existence, everything we did, was defined by just one material, stone.
Just look at that timeline. The scale is absolutely mind-boggling. For hundreds of thousands of years, survival literally depended on simple, flaked stone tools. But then, as the last ice age started to end, something new came along. These tiny, really sophisticated stone points called microliths. You can think of them as the original precision tools, probably used for things like arrows and sickles. This wasn't just a small upgrade, it was a huge technological jump.
And this right here, this might be the single greatest transformation in all of human history, the invention of farming. Instead of constantly chasing food, people started to grow it. We see the evidence at sites like Mehrgarh, with some of the earliest wheat and barley, and at Koldova, which has some of the world's oldest proof of rice cultivation. This totally changed the game. It made permanent villages, storing food, and a whole new way of life possible.
The next game changer? Metal. For the very first time, people started using copper right alongside their stone tools. This brand new, much more durable material, well, it was going to become the foundation for something entirely new, the city. Which brings us to our second great leap, the birth of urban living. We are talking about the incredible Indus Valley Civilization, one of the 3 earliest civilizations on the entire planet, right up there with Mesopotamia and Egypt. And what's just wild is how incredibly advanced they were. Their cities, places like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, were built on a grid pattern with streets crossing at perfect right angles. They had covered drainage systems for sanitation. I mean, that's something much of Europe wouldn't see for thousands of years. They used standardized, baked bricks across this huge territory, and their trade network stretched all the way to modern-day Iraq. But here it is, the central mystery. We have found thousands of these beautiful, intricate seals covered in their pictographic script, but we have absolutely no idea what they say, not a word. The language of this unbelievably sophisticated civilization is completely lost to us. It's like a lost voice from the ancient world. So after the Indus cities eventually declined, a totally new era began. This third leap wasn't really about cities or tools. It was about ideas. It was about new ways to organize society and new ways to ask these really deep questions about what it all means. And even within this Vedic age, you see this massive transformation. In the early days, society was semi-nomadic, a lot more flexible. Your social role or your varna was based on your job. But as people settled down to farm, thanks in part to new iron tools, society got way more rigid. The varna system became hereditary, something you were born into, creating a fixed social hierarchy. And the religious rituals, they got a lot more complex. And whenever things get really rigid and complicated, well, you can guess what happens, right? It creates an opening for new thinkers to come along and start asking some tough questions. This period saw an absolute explosion of new philosophies, and 2 in particular really rose to the top: Jainism and Buddhism.
At the heart of Buddhism is a framework that's almost like a doctor's diagnosis. It's so practical. The Buddha identified the problem, suffering. He figured out its cause, realized there was a cure, and then he laid out a clear prescription to achieve it. This focus on a personal, practical path to enlightenment really resonated with people, and it offered a powerful alternative to the rigid structures of the time.
And all of this leads us to our 4th great leap, political unification. Out of this patchwork of competing kingdoms, the first great Indian empires emerged, uniting huge swaths of the subcontinent under a single rule for the very first time. So the stage was set with these 16 major kingdoms, all fighting for control. For decades, they were at war with each other. But through a combination of strategic location, a ton of resources, and some really ambitious rulers, one kingdom started to pull ahead of the pack, Magadha. And it was from this powerful base that India's first great empire would rise.
Now, the Mauryan Empire hit its peak under its 3rd ruler, a man named Ashoka.
But after this incredibly brutal and bloody war to conquer the kingdom of Kalinga, he was just horrified by the carnage. He had a complete, profound transformation. And as this quote from his own rock edicts tells us, he totally renounced violent conquest. So what he did next was really revolutionary. Instead of ruling by force, Ashoka decided to rule by Dhamma, this moral code that he had carved into pillars and rocks all across his empire for everyone to see. This was a radical experiment in governance, trying to build an empire that was held together not by fear, but by a shared set of ethics.
A few centuries after the Mauryas, the Gupta Empire came along and ushered in what's often called a golden age. And for good reason. This was a period of incredible cultural and intellectual flowering. It gave us the masterpieces of the playwright Kalidasa, it saw huge advances in math and astronomy, and it led to the founding of great centers of learning like Nalanda University.
But the story of ancient India isn't just about these huge centralized empires. After the Guptas, the focus really shifts to this vibrant tapestry of regional kingdoms, and each one of them left its own unique and lasting mark on art, architecture, and literature.
I mean, just look at the diversity here. In the Deccan Plateau, you had the Chalukyas, who basically pioneered a whole new hybrid style of temple architecture. A bit further south, the Hoysalas built some of the most insanely intricate temples in the world, often on these amazing star-shaped platforms. And in the deep south, the Sangam age produced this breathtaking body of Tamil literature that's still celebrated today.
And this is a perfect example of how unique these regional cultures were. The Sangam poets, for instance, they classified the entire world into 5 distinct landscapes, or thenais. Each zone, from the mountains to the coast, had its own specific lifestyle, its own gods, and even its own theme in love poetry. It just shows how deeply this culture was intertwined with its environment.
So after this incredible sprint through 1,000,000 years, we're left with this question. We've gone from a simple stone flake to an impossibly intricate temple, from a nomadic clan to these vast empires. The scale of change is just staggering. But through it all, what are the ideas, what are the innovations that last, that transform, and that connects this whole vast and varied story? That is something worth thinking about.